Welcome to Faith and Freedom. For the next few minutes, we hope to inform, inspire, and encourage you as we discuss the legal victories and challenges to your fundamental freedoms and religious liberties. Faith and Freedom comes to you from Liberty Counsel, a civil liberties education and legal defense organization. Join us now as Matt Staver, the President and General Counsel of Liberty Counsel, explains the latest legal issues all across this country in the courtrooms of America. Liberty Counsel is winning the battle for your constitutional freedoms.
A public transportation driver who lost his job for refusing to take women to an abortion clinic has now been vindicated. I'm Matt Staver, founder and chairman of Liberty Counsel and dean of Liberty University School of Law. Joining me is Dean Shawn Akers of the Helm School of Government at Liberty University. Shawn, this is a good vindication for this bus driver, but on the other hand, it looks like he may not be able to go back to his previous place of employment. Here's a bus driver in Austin, Texas, driving for the public capital area rural transportation system. He's now won a settlement in a lawsuit that he filed against the agency when he was disciplined for refusing to take two women to an abortion clinic. Now, the good news is that he has been vindicated on here, but apparently part of the settlement is he's not going to return back to this particular employer, and maybe he just doesn't want to return back there anyway.
Yeah, it may be very well that he just doesn't want to work for an employer that's gonna act this way anyway, because the employer seems to be holding its guns on the fact that you would have to deliver clients wherever they wanted to be dropped. But from a policy standpoint, this is fascinating, Matt, because you and I have talked several times about the fact that, especially in the United States, the leadership tradition here is that the sovereign is we the people, and that we occasionally have the opportunity to directly make policy. Now, abortion policy at the national level may be a little hard to understand, at the state level may be a little hard to understand, but this man took it into his own hand and said, look, my policy is I'm not going to take you to a place. I'm not going to way to you taking the life of an unborn child. And he stuck to his guns, and the courts, he ended it in a settlement, but still he's been vindicated here with even the company saying that through settlement that, okay, maybe you've got a point.
Well, his name is Edward Granning, and he was dispatched to take two women to Planned Parenthood abortion clinics in January of 2010. And when he was called by the supervisor and told that he had to take these women to an abortion clinic, he said in good conscience he could not, and they would need to have somebody else transport these women. So the company, the Capital Area Rural Transportation System, fired him for refusing to transport these women. He then decided to file a lawsuit, and in federal court, he's now settled this case with some apparently monetary damages being awarded to him. The interesting thing, though, is Dave Marsh, the general manager for the Capital Area Rural Transportation System, told the newspaper that CARTS, the abbreviation for this, now makes it clear to all drivers when they are hired that they must take users of the bus system to any destination. Now, that sentence in the news report of this makes me wonder, have they really learned their lesson? Because are they just now redrafting their policy to say you're required to take people to every destination? And therefore, in the future, if you have another Edwin Granning who says, I don't want to transport people to an abortion clinic, they're going to fire him and think they can get away with it? It sounds like they haven't learned completely their lesson in this case.
That's exactly right, Matt. The way that we typically operate in employment law situations like this, we've got an employee handbook that you have to make your employees live by, and that's what you're going to use in one of these cases where you're making these firing decisions later. So when somebody does something that you haven't thought of before, that like Granning did in this case, you modify the handbook so when you hire new people, you place them on notice of it. So you're exactly right. It doesn't sound like they learned their lesson. It sounds like they're trying to weed out the Grannings. Now, the problem, though, is if you think about it, their statement is very, very broad. They must take them to any destination. Well, taking that just a little bit further, does that mean that if someone wants to rob a bank and they need a ride, that our bus system has to take them there?
No, yeah, they haven't really thought through the implications.
No, they really haven't.
Of what they said. Maybe they need a new person who monitors their public policies, because this statement, it has all kinds of implications. They're not in reality. I can guarantee if you track them, they're not in reality going to require everybody to go to every single place, and you could test them out on that. The fact of the matter is they'll obviously make some exceptions to that rule. The fact is, though, that we see these kinds of conflicts of conscience in many places with regards to abortion. It's not just here. It's the first time I've seen it in a transportation situation. But you see it frequently come up with healthcare providers, particularly in pharmacies where they're asked to dispatch a so-called morning after pill that is not contraceptive but is an abortifacient. It actually works to remove the fertilized egg afterward. And pharmacists will say, I don't want to be a part of that. And then there's even others that may be Catholic or others that are opposed to birth control in general, and they don't want to be a part of distributing a particular medication that's contrary to their religious beliefs. Or your wife is a nurse, and right. Nurses and healthcare practitioners and providers, they encounter that within the medical field in hospitals all the time.
They do, Matt. This is one of those things that strikes as close to the heart as you get. I mean, you're talking about these conscience provisions all around the United States of being able to make the decision of whether you're willing to participate in something or not based on not just a religious belief, but for some of us just plain truth with a capital T. What you see is very much the same thing in the abortion area of policy that you see in the homosexual activism area of policy. It's that abortion, for some reason, is given a heightened protection. It's given a very special place in public policy. So, for instance, I'll give you another example. If you are protesting just about anything, then you get treated a certain way. But as you remember from the buffer zone cases, if you protest at an abortion clinic, it's treated differently. And now with these conscience clause cases, things like this. If this man had, for instance, refused to take a heroin addict to a site to buy heroin, probably not much would have been said about it. But because of the political implications here, it's pretty clear that he's treated a little differently when he's dealing with an abortion issue.
That's right. This issue of abortion and conflicting with conscience and particularly religious beliefs has been going on for some time. There's a lot of states now that have conscience legislation that will allow healthcare providers to opt out of participating in an abortion in any way. And we need more of that kind of legislation. Now, I know President Obama has been trying to remove those conscience protections from a federal level, and that is a radical position, but he has a radical position in support of abortion, even while he was the state senator, opposing a Born Alive Infant Protection Act, which was infanticide, and he even opposed that because he said, well, maybe it'll actually eat away at the so-called right to an abortion. In America, we need to restore the culture of life. I mean, this is radical to have abortion through all 9 months. It's radical to force people to participate in abortion, and we need to be able to restore a culture of life in all areas of our culture.
You know, Matt, you're pointing that out so well that, one, it's radical just to have this type of legislation allowing abortion anyway, but to force people to take part in it, to tell them in order to maintain your ability to earn a living, you're going to have to take part in this, whether it's in the medical field or the pharmaceutical field where you're having to issue these drugs or you're having to participate in an abortion, or in this case, telling this man that in order to continue to work for the bus service, you have to take people to get abortions. You know, that's something that is so beyond the pale, Matt, that it's truly a wake-up call and makes us thankful that we've got groups like Liberty Counsel that are willing to stand in the breach here and call them out on it.
Well, standing in the breach, of course, is what Liberty Counsel does on this particular issue. In fact, Liberty Counsel started as a pro-life organization to defend the sanctity of life in the public square and in the courts. And it was the issue of abortion that ultimately transferred me from the pastoral profession and the calling to the legal calling by watching a video on abortion. We need to be able to stand up in America for the atrocities that are happening. Every time we drive through town and you ride by an abortion clinic, a Planned Parenthood abortion clinic, the Holocaust is continuing, and we can't be silent. As we approach this new budget debate that is going to take place up in Capitol Hill, we have to, at a minimum, defund Planned Parenthood. It's unbelievable that we're spending hundreds of millions of dollars a year to fund the largest Holocaust that's ever happened in the history of the world, and that is the holocaust against our unborn children. Give us a call at Liberty Counsel, 1-800-671-1776. Ask to receive our Liberator and our Liberty Alert email. You can do that by calling or going to the website and signing up right there on the website at lc.org. And also ask for the book Take Back America. It's the new released book with additional information called Take Back America. It's a book that I authored, and it's one of the new books from our New Revolution Publishers outreach that publishes these kinds of materials. Ask for Take Back America today.
You have been listening to Matt Staver of Liberty Counsel. Our hope is to encourage and inspire you to stand up for your faith, family, and freedoms. We can accomplish a lot when we work together. Get informed and get involved today. Sign up for our free monthly newsletter, The Liberator. We will send it out to you free of charge. Stay informed with our Liberty Alert email update. Just click on the website at www.lc.org or call us at 1-800-671-1776. Tune in next time to learn more about your rights right here on Faith and Freedom.